Hey, everybody. Good to have everybody on the call tonight. We have JoAnn, one of my favorite trainers on my team. JoAnn Barmettler is going to be training tonight, and she has a heart as big as you can believe, and it's going to come right through on this training so that you can really learn how to handle objections gracefully and lovingly the way she has learned. And JoAnn is a registered nurse, and she's in the Army, and so I love it that she works full-time, and she takes time also to be part of this mission, and then not just that, but to train each and every one of us. She's always giving back. So I know you're going to love, she just has the gift of being able to teach and to help to just really bring this to light for everybody, that it's going to make you want to get off the phone and do better follow-up and take care of people even better. So you're in for a treat. And so I'm going to let JoAnn Barmettler take it away.
Thank you, Mama Bear. So tonight we're going to be talking about overcoming objections with a heart. So I think the biggest thing is, what we need to know is, everybody can ask themselves, do you have a heart to help? And I assume by everybody being on this call and being part of this amazing company does have a heart. And if you don't, you're probably in the wrong business and probably should go find something else, because I think you really have to have a heart to be in this business. And excuse me, when you have a heart to help, you also have a heart to help change lives. And I think that's a goal that we all have and we're passionate about. And I don't know about you, but some of my favorite times is when I get an email or a text from a customer saying how much their lives have changed since Juice Plus, or since they started, living a healthier life and making healthier choices. And one of them could be with Juice Plus, but that's always exciting. And it makes my heart full when I hear that. So we're here to help people actually overcome their objections. And I bet that everybody on this call tonight can say, yep, I've had somebody who's had objections. And I was probably one of the worst people that had all kinds of objections. But I think is what we really need to get down to is what's behind those objections. Sometimes people they need to have time to think it over and think through it. And I will say that I'm very much like that. When I'm in board meetings and stuff, I don't say a lot. I take all the information in, and then I leave the meeting and I'll think about it for the next 12 to 24 hours. And then it's like I can start thinking of things to really provide how that should go together, or however it is. So that's me. I'm that type of person. Another type would be, they're really actually fearful of change. And I bet we can all kind of raise our hands, say, I know somebody like that, or I had a customer like that. And sometimes that's really what their objections are. They just time to think it over, or they're really fearful of change. And it could be fear of many different things. I think a lot of us, whether you're in the workplace or in organizations or in networking, marketing groups, when there's a change, I think we all kind of go, oh boy, what's this going to look like? And that's probably the biggest fear. What does it look like when we have this change? How will this affect us? So I love that Stephen Covey says, seek first to understand, then be understood. And I think that really speaks volume, especially in our business that we're in. If we can understand where people are coming from and what's really stopping them and what's really behind their objections, then I think it's a lot easier for us to be able to help them through their objections. So I love that Eric, who created all this training that we've been doing since we started, he says, a transaction is a commission spent. A relationship is an asset that continues to grow. And I think that through all of this training that we've had, everybody can agree that we are in the relationship business. And somebody actually asked me that the other day. They asked me, well, what kind of business are you in? I said, I'm in the relationship business. They're like, kind of looked at me kind of weird, their head cocked, and like, really? Well, what's that? And I'm sure they probably thought I was going to say some dating site or something. I don't know. But I told them, Juice Plus. And I said, we're all about building relationships. And that's really that's really what we're doing when we talk to people. We're building relationships. So one of the things that we can do to help our prospects overcome their objections is we can just be honest up front and speak right from the heart. And I think in general that when you're talking to people, you don't need to know all of the science behind Juice Plus. You don't need to have all the facts up here in your head. I think when you truly speak from your heart, people will see that. And then they know that. And they know that you care. And that usually comes through in your conversations. And I bet if I went and interviewed all of your customers, they would probably say something very similar about each and every one of you, that you care and that you listened. And so it's really, I mean, it really follows in this guideline of building relationships and being honest and upfront. Number 2 would be, we've got to remember it's not about us. I know, I wish it was, but kidding. You know, and when I first started in this business and when people would object, I took it personally because I thought that they were saying it like against me. And that's not it at all. It goes back to look at their underlying reason of why they're objecting. And it has nothing to do with us. So remember to stay calm and neutral. Don't take the emotion out of it. Don't take it personally because it really isn't about you. When you have a heart to help is what that really says. It says, I want to help you. When you have a heart to change lives, it says, I want to help you change your life. When you have a heart to protect the relationships that you're in, it says, I want to make sure that our relationship is good. And I really like the way Eric had really laid that out because it is so true. And I think, I don't know each and every one of you on the call, but I can really bet that your passion, you got into this business because you saw the value of helping people in it. So objections are a good thing. And a lot of us may think negative of that. We just think, oh my goodness, they had so many objections and it was just, you know, one after the other. And it's not negative. It's actually a really good thing because Eric says in his training, he says, objections is usually the last thing that's standing between you and the sell. And so that's really good to remember. And understanding that it's usually a deeper fear. I have a customer that she's an acquaintance and I've known her for a while, but she would always talk about, what would I do if I got healthier? I mean, she's chronically sick, chronically going to doctor's appointments, visiting ERs, and she has some different disease processes going on and on a lot of medication. Her whole, I would say, gosh, probably the last 7 to 9 years have been wrapped around her health, or I should say her sickness. So her husband's been taking her to these doctor's appointments. Her husband goes to the ER with her, like he'll leave, go pick her up and take her to the ER. So he's been right there by her side through it all. And it was just interesting what she said. She said, I don't know what that looks like. What if I become healthy? What will my relationship look like with my husband? And so I started asking her questions. I said, well, what was your relationship like with your husband before you got sick? And she just lit up and she said, oh my, we used to go do this and we used to go do this and we'd have an afternoon delight here and there. And then like she just started beaming. It's like, well, what would be so horrible about going back to that? And then she just couldn't even imagine herself not being sick anymore. And so I just, we talked a lot more about Juice Plus, but that's a perfect example. She couldn't really imagine in her life being healthy again, what that even looked like. So we oftentimes want people to time to think. And it's okay. It's okay for them to think about it because that means their minds are turning and they want to maybe have more information. And so this is also the perfect time, kind of like I did with my friend, is kind of be painting that picture of what it looks like for them. What does it look like if they started Juice Plus and they started feeling better and they started having more energy? And of course, we don't go out and make all those claims to say, oh, you're going to have this and your autoimmune disorder is going to be healed tomorrow. We don't say those things. We don't claim those things. But we say you might feel better, you might have more energy. This is what the science is reporting. This is what other people report. And so painting that picture for them, what that looks like. And instead of maybe painting the picture of what it looks like if they move forward, what does it look like for them if they don't ever start on a healthy path? So do they like being sick? Do they like continuing to have sinus infections all the time and going to the doctor every other month? That was me. I'm speaking of myself. And so, you relate it to whatever situation's going on for them and whatever their objections are. So we have an acronym here that we use that is going to help us through the objections, and it's called LIMS, L-I-M-S. And L stands for listen. So listen up, people. No. You're going to listen to their objections, and you're going to ask questions. And just kind of like I asked my friend, well, what does that look like to you? Or what do you think is really holding you back? So whatever the person is that you're dealing with and whatever situation it is, just ask questions after you've listened to them. And they'll know, they'll see your heart coming through that. And I is for isolate. And is this your biggest concern? Is this the biggest concern that you have, is that you're afraid of what healthy looks like for you, or whatever it may be? So L is for listen, I is for isolate, and M is for mirror. I'm sure that in lots of our trainings over Juice Plus time, I've heard that a lot of times. Mirror back to them, repeat back to them what you heard them saying. So I'm going to pick on Ruth because that's the first name I see up here. So I'm going to say, Ruth, is what I heard you saying is that you're sick and tired of being sick and tired. Is that what I heard you say? And she says, well, yep, I guess I did say that. And then you're just repeating back. You're verifying with them what you heard. And then, you know what? When they hear that too, it does. Something rings a bell in their own mind to say, oh gosh, I did say that. Oh, did I really mean that? Well, I do, or, whatever there is they're facing. So that's M. So S is solve and close. It's suggest a solution. Have them imagine the result of them not moving forward or moving forward. Because I really like the fact of them moving forward. What does that look like? And some people can't imagine a different life when they've maybe been stuck in this rut of whatever it is for so long. So I think that's kind of what we are in their lives for. We were put in their lives for a reason. And I believe that God just really designs and that perfectly. And so our reason is to care enough about them to help them. And that's really what we are doing by asking them questions, listening to them, mirroring back to them what they said, and then just helping them find that solution and close the cell. And this is the perfect time again, is just to paint that picture again for them. Paint that picture of what it looks like for them if they move forward or if they don't move forward. And, I can tell you that Susie introduced Juice Plus to me a long time ago. And she may not realize this, but she actually mirrored this very training to me when I was practicing this training and going through it. I thought of her through the whole situation. I had a lot of objections. And I just want to remind you too, is that sometimes people may not be so kind in their objections. They may come off kind of angry about it, but you got to look and remember where they're at. They're probably really frustrated or really fearful or really unhappy with their situation. And I know I was when Susie introduced Juice Plus to me. But she sat and talked to me, and she would say, well, when she started speaking more of my language as a nurse, she would just ask me questions. Well, what would you tell your patients when you discharge them from the hospital? And, they're sick and they got to heal. What do you tell them? I went, oh, yeah. I tell them eat a very clean diet, lots of fruits and vegetables, good sources of proteins. And I'm like, duh, yeah, that makes sense. And then she would, just continue to ask questions. And then she would, when I'd have another objection or I'd say, oh, I don't know, she would say, is what I heard you say when I first met you is that you were sick and tired of being sick and tired. And I'm like, oh, I did say that. Yeah. And she actually, I was caring for one of my best friends who's in a wheelchair and he's paralyzed from his chest on down. And she actually called me on the phone to see if she could come visit me. And I asked my friend Mike, and I said, hey, do you mind if this lady comes over and, talks to me about Juice Plus? He goes, oh, I don't care. I'd love to listen. So she's talking to us. I mean, she drove all the way out there, and it was no easy jaunter. It was probably a good 25, 30 minutes from where she was. But she came out and she went through wholeheartedly with her heart. It came clearly across that she cared. And she cared enough to drive out there and sit with us and talk to us about it and help me overcome my objections by asking me those questions and painting that picture for me. And the whole time that she was talking, it was kind of funny because I kept thinking of my friend Mike. I'm like, oh, it'd be so perfect for him because he's in a wheelchair. He can't cook for himself. And sometimes what people cook for him isn't always healthy. And he is kind of a picky eater. I'm like, oh, this would be perfect for him. So when I finally said yes to Juice Plus, my friend Mike says, well, if you're going to do it, I'm going to do it. And I'm like, perfect, Mike. That's awesome, But I really appreciated how she really did. As I think back to that, I can remember, it's funny, I can remember that day. I can remember when it was. I can remember exactly where we were sitting at the table. Because that was such a life-changing moment for me, is when I said yes to Juice Plus. So what I am going to challenge all of you to do is that I bet that each of you have had somebody, and you're maybe in the past couple weeks or month, a prospect that's had objections, or even a customer, because I wasn't an easy customer. So I would call Susie back and say, I'm getting sicker, and this would be after 30 days, 45 days. And I'm like, what's wrong with this product? I don't think it's good for me, or whatever I was saying. I felt bad for her, but she lovingly asked me those questions again, went through my objections, talked me through what I was complaining about, and then shared, the research or whatever with me. So, she basically repeated those steps again with me when I had objections, even after taking Juice Plus. So I want to challenge you to write down 1 or 2 names of somebody that you've had that really sticks out to you, that's had objections in the last couple weeks or month, and they haven't ordered yet, and maybe they're sitting on the fence and they're thinking about it. And I'm going to I challenge you to call them and tell them that you've been thinking about them. And I'm going to read a script that Eric wrote for our training that we did. And I really like this script, and you can put the words to it however it fits into the person that you're talking to. But you can call them, and I'm going to pick on Ruth again. So I'm going to call Ruth, and I'm going to say, hey, Ruth, I've just been really thinking about you. You've been on my mind. And the important thing is for you to know is that our relationship means more to me than whether you purchase anything from me in my business. My heart is to help people, not push anything on them. That said, Ruth, I'm really excited to help you through adding Juice Plus to your family's diet and checking out the Shred 10, because you had mentioned that the Shred 10 sounded like something that you need after the new year, and you thought that would be a good start for you. And if you stick with me, I'll help you get those results you want. You see, my business depends on getting you results, because then you will be a walking, talking billboard for me. Then I would have the honor of not only helping you, but helping those you love. So based on that, are you ready to get started, Ruth? Now see, that wasn't threatening, and it didn't come across pushy. And I love that script, and I'm going to read it one more time. Maybe some of you guys have this script, but you can either take notes or you can re-listen to the recording. But I really do like the script that he put up because I think it's really sincere, and it really does, for me, it finalizes this training of overcoming objections with the heart. So calling Ruth again, hey, Ruth, I just want to let you know I've been thinking a lot about you. And the important thing is for you to know is that our relationship means more to me than whether you purchase anything from my business. My heart is to help people, not push anything on them. That being said, Ruth, I'm really excited to help you with adding Juice Plus to you and your family's diet, and even adding the Shred 10 after the new year. And if you stick with me, we'll help you get those results. You see, my business depends on getting you results because you'll be a walking, talking billboard for me. Then I would have the honor of not only helping you, but those people you care about in your life. So based on that, are you ready to get started? So you can change those words to, Eric was a Beachbody coach, and so he gets into those results. And ours might be, help you get more energy, feel better, not be as sick as often. You could just list a few of those, or whatever Ruth talked about earlier in our conversation. So, again, the biggest thing is, I think when you guys really speak honestly and openly, people see your heart. And when you love them through their objections, then they will truly see that you just care about them and that you really do want to help them. So that is the end of our training.